speaking of people that are suffering as a result of terrible career decisions and awkward, unsuccessful pivots, Jesus Christ, Anna Kasparian, this is your life now. Welfare is warfare. Ann Coulter joins her take. The new show on Valuetainment, which we've talked about at length now, has just dropped its third episode, Zach. And like I said, I woke up to you letting me know about this.
Yeah, it's funny. My grandpa used to have Ann Coulter books on his shelf. I'm pretty sure one of them is called like Liberalism is a Mental Disease or something, like crazy shit like that. She has like all kinds of crazy books and all this stuff. So whenever I see Ann Coulter, it does like take me back to like 2009 a little bit. It really reminds me of the Bill O'Reilly era. This is the world I come from, right? Sometimes Gavin will talk about like, oh, when I was growing up, my mom had all of the like Bushisms. It's like, no, where I come from, we had a deck of cards with all the most wanted terrorists in America. Okay. You know what I mean? It was the exact opposite side of the aisle. And Ann Coulter was like a fucking, American patriot to these people. Not so much to me. Whenever I think of Ann Coulter now, though, I always think of the comedy roast of Rob Lowe. I was telling Gavin about this. This comedian, Jimmy Carr, called her a repugnant, hateful, hatchet-faced bitch and was like, but it's not too late to change your ways. It's not too late to save yourself. You could commit suicide. And everybody just goes quiet, and it was a big Fox News scandal. They wrote a bunch of articles about it, but I thought it was hilarious.
Oh, God, that is hilarious. Yeah, Ann Coulter, definitely a bit of a throwback. I don't know how relevant she truly is these days in right-wing media. Like, I don't really hear about her all that much unless she says or does something really crazy. The last time I remember her making serious news is when she told Vivek Ramaswamy to his face that I wouldn't vote for you because you're not white, which was insane. So that
technically, she said because he's an Indian.
Okay, because I think the implication was pretty clear there. Either way, it's that kind of thing where she pops up, and now this, now she's hanging out with Anna Kasparian, Jillian Michaels, Lindy Lee, and Rodney Dangerfield's daughter or something. I always forget her name, but
Amy Dangerfield,
the British assistant to Patrick Bet-David himself, or Australian maybe. Either way, I guess we can take a look at this, Zach. I don't know how much we can get through. It'll be a bit of a endurance test to survive, a challenge, see how long we can make it.
Yeah, Anna getting the bump over here too. I don't know if you noticed, but she's getting smaller and smaller. And Jillian Michaels' picture's getting bigger and bigger. And Lindy Lee over here staying the same size. I don't know what to make of that, but
they're separating them all by their two. You go back real quick.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It's like all the brunettes on one side. Brunettes versus blondes.
Got the highlights for Jillian Michaels to kind of tie it all together in the center. That's hilarious.
It's kind of funny too. It's kind of trippy in a sense, like 2001: A Space Odyssey. Towards the end where he like sees himself as an older man. It's kind of like Anna looking in the mirror at Ann Coulter and like, this is who I could become if I continue down this path. You know what I'm saying? Because Ann Coulter is kind of the ultimate evolution of just that cracked out Karen energy. Just the furthest extent of insanity that exists within the strain of the Republican Party. She's always like, she was kind of the Trump of the commentariat, even before Trump was a big deal. Like, she was the one who would say just the insane racist shit out loud that
like
no one else
female
would.
Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah, but I would say she would go even further than Rush Limbaugh. Maybe I didn't watch enough Rush.
Rush went pretty far.
She would literally be like, we should fucking kill every Muslim and take over the Middle East, and
Oh, that was her and Rush were on the same page with that. Yeah, but anyway, the other thing about what's her fuck Ann Coulter is that she literally was to the right of Donald Trump in his first term, and that's kind of what squashed her momentum as a Republican commentator. Well, yeah, she was really pissed that he didn't actually deliver on the wall. Her big issue was the border wall. And so she put out this huge stink in like 2017, 2018, calling Donald Trump a fraud, saying he wasn't committed to building the wall. And the entire Republican base just ate her alive for it. They were not turning on Donald Trump. The MAGAs went after her. But yeah, she is to the right of Donald Trump, just for everybody's POV if you're not familiar with her.
What Zach is really saying is this is a principled woman. We're dealing with you. Show some respect to Ann Coulter standing up on her principles, calling out Donald Trump. No, but honestly, I do remember having like a weird perverted kind of respect for that.
Respect?
Being like, at least she actually believes what she's saying and isn't like Alex Jones, for example, is someone that's just totally humiliated himself because he used to actually pretend to be anti-establishment. He called out Bush and Obama, and he was talking about the 9/11 conspiracies, even while Republicans were in charge, right? But then as soon as Trump became president, he totally fucking sold out to become the biggest Trump cheerleader of all fucking time. And completely threw away his like skepticism of the establishment. I guess Ann Coulter kind of hung on to some of hers, disgusting principles. But again, not trying to give credit to Ann Coulter. Let's take a listen to this. Anna Kasparian, where she finds herself. I can't imagine this feels very good, Zach.
No, God, no. I don't think she ever really realized this is where it was gonna end up.
Yeah, I wonder who told her. Oh, by the way, Anna, we booked this week's guest on her take. Oh, really? Who is it? Ann Coulter. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, fuck.
I will call that MFR out.
Why are you raising money for Biden then? Because I don't understand. These words I just told you. I know you get real angry when people ask you that question, but you need to answer it. Don't yell at me.
No. Do you understand English? I just said
I do. You're lying though.
Do you really think that
Anna coming out? She's like, I'm the real MAGA one. You're not the real MAGA one. I told you, Anna's listening to our show, and she knew she had to get catty with Lindy Lee if she was going to make the cut. Yep. She was listening to our Summer League commentary, and we were like, uh-oh, you're not showing enough. Uh-oh, you're going to have to go do a tour in Europe. You're going to have to play in the China League. You're going to have to play in the Russo League. Okay, you're going to have to play in France because you're not going to cut it in the NBA. You're not getting picked up from Summer League. She was like, no, I'm coming for Lindy Lee. Okay.
Also, Lindy Lee is just so fucking annoying. How could you not, clap back?
Low-hanging fruit. Got to start somewhere.
we can trust Iran?
Yes.
We allow them to
Yeah, we had
I don't trust Iran with a government.
We deal with Saudi Arabia and their monsters.
After 9/11, I wanted to bomb the crap out of Iraq. When is American policy no longer made in America? Why are we doing it?
Not because it has no effect on any American's life. Who cares who the leader of Syria is? She was naked and shot. Okay, Jillian, it doesn't affect any American's life.
I agree with Ann. I care.
Human here, guys.
Why is that a responsibility? Why do we need to be the sheriff in the entire world?
We're here in America. You illegal immigration.
All right.
We meant to go and police on another.
There's something else you want.
Welcome to Her Take. Guys, if you're liking the show, could you do us a big favor? Like, comment, share, subscribe. It goes a long way for us with the algorithm. And I'm really excited to say that our guest today is the one and only Ann Coulter. Ann, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thank you for being
Why'd you say British?
All right,
I know.
Jump right in. We're gonna begin with a bombshell in the news. Former President Joe Biden has just been diagnosed with prostate cancer. Now, this drops just a few weeks after the Robert Hur audio, where Biden struggled to recall basic facts about his son's death, his time as the vice president. And while the diagnosis is undeniably sad, it's raising questions about when did they really know? Is there a cover-up here? If so, why? And honestly, who in the heck has been running the country for the last 4 years? Lindy, I know you're super passionate and raring to go, so take it away here, kid.
Thank you. And my first gut instinct was that this is his attempt at a sympathy play, but this is going 180 degrees of what he intended it to be. The timing could not have been more interesting and more architected from my point of view. I think he had known for years that he has been suffering from something. And honestly, this is just yet another.
Yeah, you would know, Lindy. You were a fucking deep in the Democratic swamp like 8 months ago. You were probably helping aid in the cover up. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, yeah, you're not wrong, but that's pretty funny coming from you.
That was true in 2020. The last time he ran for president, everybody called him Basement Joe, where he would only allow friendly interviews, and they would be like 3 minutes long, and they would be edited, and they would come from his basement in Delaware. Okay, everything had to be run out of Delaware because it was the only place he was comfortable. Does that seem like a great place in a fucking presidential election to run your campaign office? No, it wasn't. It wasn't ideal. It wasn't a swing state. We knew what Delaware was going to do. Okay.
And again, that's when Lindy Lee was working with the Democrats.
Exactly.
Aiding in the cover-up.
Yep.
And now she's like, I think that they knew all along. I think they might have been duping us from the beginning, guys. What a shock. You fucking idiot. She has no respect for the people that consume this content. She thinks they're all idiots who just woke up yesterday. I'm like, we know what you're doing. We see it. It's not that hard to fucking figure it out. You're so obvious. Even Anna looks subtle in comparison to Lindy Lee. To her credit, Anna at least laid the groundwork for her pivot a little bit. Lindy woke up one morning and was like, no, I'm a Republican.
In the Biden regime, they covered up his cognitive decline. They covered up his health issues. They covered up everything. Everything the Democratic Party has a tremendous truth problem right now with American people. And because of their years of lying, they now have forfeited any trust that the American people had in them.
Could I say something?
Go for it.
I think we could surely speculate about whether or not they knew about his health condition, whether or not he had cancer prior to him running for a second term. What I think we absolutely could not speculate about is what his wife knew. And so for me, whether the Democrats did something nefarious to cover it up in hopes that he gets a second term, that's one thing. But the fact that Jill Biden was literally on that debate stage, we did it, Joe. All of that rhetoric when your husband should literally be at home in bed. For me, it's more of an indictment on her as a wife than the Democrats when we're just purely speculating whether or not they knew he had cancer. Now, they certainly knew about his mental decline. That much we've certainly ascertained, right? But when it comes to the cancer thing, I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
Can I be honest with the health thing real quick? There's no universe where they did not know that he had cancer. There's a PSA score for men. He has advanced prostate cancer right now. They would have caught this in his yearly physicals. I've interviewed enough oncologists to know.
She's actually 100% right about this. There's no way that they didn't know until it got to this advanced stage. What it is actually, it was 100% a sympathy play that backfired. And the reality is he's probably going to die soon.
Oh yeah, he's going to die very soon.
That I just find it almost impossible to believe we just discovered this. Now, I don't get the whole timing sympathy thing, and I'm going to pass over here to the center table.
I mean, I don't think that this was like some cynical ploy to garner sympathy or empathy for.
It just conveniently came out a week after he was being dragged through the mud in the press by everyone.
Yeah, how is it not obviously a cynically timed play? Come on, Anna. This is your
Joe
time.
Biden at
Literally.
a time when a lot of people are upset with him and the Democratic Party for the very real cover-up regarding his mental decline. I don't know whether or not they had caught this cancer earlier. He kept it on the down low and is now going public with it. I have no idea, and I don't really want to speculate on it. What I will say is that once you're caught in the type of lie Biden and the Democratic Party got caught in, I don't really begrudge people for questioning whether this.
I hate to say it, but I have to give credit to where credit is due. They have seemingly upgraded the set a little bit. It looks a little bit better, a little bit less like out of 2004.
I think they literally are watching our show and taking our feedback because they changed the thumbnails after we bitched about it. They've changed the set after we've bitched about it. I don't know, guys. I think they're watching the Vanguard and taking notes. We're sophisticated critics. It's like reading Roger Ebert's review of your film. You're like, there might be some positive takeaways for me, you know?
Exactly. But yeah, that does look a little bit better. They're working through the kinks, getting a bit, and I'm sure we weren't the only ones to roast that either. I think a lot of people took one look at that first couple episodes and said, "What the fuck is this?"
This was a diagnosis that he knew about earlier and is now just coming out with it as if it's a new diagnosis. I just think they need to be honest. They need to build trust and credibility among the American people. That's going to take some time. But what I keep feeling from the Democratic Party is just this level of selfishness, this level of wanting to rise up the political ranks without being honest with the American people. And that's hurt the party overall.
I think it's a little late for honesty. I think there are only two interesting things about this. One is
why does she look like the female version of Jigsaw from the Saw movies? That's all I can think whenever this lady opens her mouth, that she is the, sister of the man they cast to play Jigsaw in the Saw movies.
You're not wrong. I never really thought about that, but now that you say it, I can't unsee it.
You can't unsee it.
Reason, any doctor who looked at him would have known that he had it for 8 years.
Absolutely.
But they couldn't let a real doctor look at him because a real doctor would say he's got Parkinson's. You got to get him out of it.
100%.
So by not allowing a real doctor to look at him, it just went on and on and on and on. And the other, I think, interesting thing is it was really weird that Biden leapt in and wanted a debate in June. It was because his poll numbers were going down. The Reagan-Carter debate was 1 week before the election. If they had waited and done it then, the media would have had to power through and say, no, his performance was fine. He's great. Never seen him better. He might have won re-election, and today Kamala would be our president.
Anne brings up a really good point because I want to talk about that doctor. You know who that doctor was? Kevin O'Connor. This is a family business associate. He had a financial interest in propping up the Biden regime. And that is a fundamental problem here. People lied about his decline.
This lady wants you to think she cares about financial corruption as she defends Donald Trump and talks about this like niche conflict of interest with Joe Biden's doctor having like a family stake in his medicine or some shit like that. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is hawking his meme coin from the White House account.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like when she says the Democrats have a problem with the truth or what. It's like, yeah, did they fucking lie in an insane way? Yes. But you don't have any fucking moral high ground here. Again, you're defending Donald Trump, who lies every time he opens his goddamn mouth. He can't get through a single sentence without telling like 3 lies.
Because they wanted power. Let's be perfectly honest.
Like Jill.
Exactly. Jill Biden, and I will name the names. Jill Biden, Steve Ricchetti, Mike Donilon, Anita Dunn, Anthony Bernal. These were the Jeff Zients. These were the people running our country. We had a council of presidents for the past 4 years. We didn't have an elected president. We had these unelected hacks who understood that Biden was our final gravy train, that as soon as he went off into the sunset, they were done. So they wanted to drag us on for forever.
Can I jump in on that? Because you mentioned all the unelected people who were involved in the cover up of Biden's mental decline, which is true. But there are also elected lawmakers who are currently in Congress who also engaged in that cover up. Representative Jim Clyburn, who's supposed to be like a sacred cow in the Democratic Party, knew of Biden's mental decline. It's outlined perfectly in that book, Fight. And basically, on the night of
Everybody knew, Anna.
the debate, he got a bunch of invites to watch, like viewing parties for the debate. And he said, no, I don't want to go. He decided to watch the debate alone in case he cried over
I didn't
Biden's
know that.
poor performance. Yes. How depressing is that?
Oh, wow.
That's fantastic.
Well, I have a question on what do you mean though the timing is suspicious? I'm not following your train of thought there.
I refuse to believe that Biden found out he had cancer literally did the day before Jake Tapper's book drops. I mean, I'm just sorry.
What's
I
the
can't.
connection? I don't get it.
Because
Jake
people are
Tapper's
supposed to feel sorry for him and they won't attack him.
And you-
One of them like Carville, one of them
Get it.
Axel.
How are you paid to give your analysis if you are dumber than dirt? I'm sorry, Jillian. You might know how to get a six-pack, okay, but I know how to use my brain cells, okay? I know how to keep that hamster wheel spinning. Like, it's so obvious. You can't read between the lines. You're not meant for this business. You're not a pundit. You're the kind of person that tunes into pundits.
Rod went on TV and said,
Everyone calm down.
criticism of Biden should be muted now.
Exactly.
He's dying.
And Jillian, like,
I guess
That's what the book's about.
I got it. I understand.
McCain.
I didn't know they cared though. I'm so sorry.
I know.
You propped up this guy who's been on death's door for 4 years, and now you care how he feels.
David Axelrod was one of the few people who said that Biden needed to step aside. I like Meghan McCain, but I have to vociferously disagree with what she's been saying for the 24 hours, which is essentially give Biden and the regime a break. No, we're not giving them a break anymore. They lied to the American people. They got us in this leftist woke mess. They need accountability. I'm so
Biden got us in the leftist woke mess. Biden got us in the leftist. That's hilarious. But I mean, I do agree that it's not like we should just not talk about it out of respect for Joe Biden. And specifically, if you're a Democrat, you should be talking about it. You should be condemning Joe Biden and the entire Democratic Party for allowing that to go on as long as it did. It absolutely led to Donald Trump. It did completely, remove any credibility for the Democrats when they wanted to talk about, oh, we're in favor of truth and democracy, even though this guy said when he ran that he was going to step aside and let the new generation in, and now he's not. It's crazy. And he has cancer, and we lied about it. It's just a never-ending fucking scandal.
Yeah, except it's just hilarious that the best argument Lindy Lee can put up is just a salad of buzzwords, basically, that's red meat to her clapping seals she's trying to reach. And really, it just seems like she's constantly auditioning for PBD. That's what it seems like to me. I think when Lindy Lee is on this camera, she is imagining PBD watching her, and she's trying to say anything, like a kid that's trying to please their father that's standing off in the distance. She's behaving in such a way that she thinks she's hitting all the talking points that PBD wants her to, or whatever producer PBD has, put.
I feel like she wants a better job even than Valuetainment. I feel like she wants to be on Fox or something.
She's got a long way to go.
Long
way to go, Lindy.
But I'm just saying she has a lot. It's not like she's gonna join the fucking PBD panel either. Right next to Vinny or something? Is that what you're saying?
No, but I think she wants to have the kind of clout and credibility that Jillian has on this show. They clearly picked Jillian and made her the host. I think Lindy Lee wants to move back into where she is considered just as much of a host as Jillian. And I think that's her goal.
Perhaps.
Don't have prostate cancer. Okay, be nice to Biden, but you still got to hold Jake Tapper responsible.
100%. Let me ask you, ladies, what do you think about having some types of mandates in place to check out not only mental capacity, but also physical capacity? Because interestingly enough, Nancy Pelosi and I believe it was Jamie Raskin tried to introduce something in 2020 when they were actually concerned about Donald Trump. That then would have passed on to other administrations too. Anna, you look like you have some thoughts on that.
I mean, it's just interesting because the calls for a mental test for the president were loud from the Democratic Party as it pertained to Donald Trump, but obviously radio silence when it came to Joe Biden. Look, there are working class Americans right now who literally have to get drug tested to qualify for work.
Right.
If they have to get drug tested to prove that they are capable to do the job, how is it that the president of the United States doesn't have to pass some sort of physical and mental exam to make sure he or she in the future maybe is up for the job?
Well, I think it's a bad idea and it's really not necessary. The Democrats, because they have the media, could power through on this one.
but boy, has it come to bite them in the ass. So
Yes.
I don't think somebody's going to do it again. And I just feel like anything like that, it can be made fun of, it can be manipulated. You get a political doctor, you attack the doctor. The party's just got to be honest about this.
Well,
Fair.
we saw this in the very beginning. I remember, again, because I interview doctors all the time in all different subspecialties, and so many of them were suggesting, like, I think he might have Lewy body dementia.
Yes.
He might have
We
a
talked
form-
about the Parkinson's.
a form of Parkinson's. Like this, the writing was on the wall for this. So if I could be
You don't have to be an expert to be told any of this shit, bro. What the fuck? Everybody knows this. Do you want to sit here and psychoanalyze Donald Trump to make a point for Anna Kasparian, right? She was correct. Everybody was like, wait, we should psychoanalyze Donald Trump. Is he fit to hold office? In 2016, that was a huge talking point. That was one of the things Hillary Clinton clung to. She was like, that man does not cognitively sound enough to be our president. Do you want him with the nukes? And to be fair, I do not. But it wasn't like anybody in the Republican Party was leaping to make those tests a reality. What about fucking Mitch McConnell, who was basically at death's door, falling to sleep, falling down? No cognitive tests for him, right? You guys don't care about that. You don't care about it at all. And Ann Coulter knows better than to even say that they should drug test the president, because her man, DJT, is popping Adderall pills like crazy, probably. Diet pills, whatever the fuck they are. Amphetamine salt in some capacity. I guarantee fucking to you.
be slightly conspiratorial here for just a moment, and of course, everybody jump in and attack me. But I remember back in January 2024, we were seeing people like Megyn Kelly and Dave Rubin talking about the fact that there was a memo leaked, and that the goal was to have a debate earlier, to discredit him early enough to not have a primary, have an open convention, and then nominate the one that they wanted, which is exactly what happened.
Jillian, I want.
I mean, really?
I don't think that's true.
You don't?
Technically, that's not what happened, right? They did want to do that, but Kamala Harris got it, and I don't think that was part of their plan. I think that was actually the royal fuck up, and the reality was that they delayed it for so long that the only person that could take over was Joe Biden's VP, Kamala Harris, and unfortunately, I think they would have actually rather had somebody like Gavin Newsom. Not that I think Gavin Newsom would have won.
Yeah, it's interesting to think in retrospect, but I do believe that had Biden stepped aside even a few months earlier, before that debate allowed there to be some semblance of a democratic process, even if Kamala had won that contest, I still think she would have been a much stronger candidate, because the people wouldn't have been able to just say that she was like forced on them without a primary.
Yeah, that was the big problem, right? And to be honest, the Democrats should have done the right thing, if we're just being real. And they should have said, Joe Biden, you're not fit to seek re-election. We need to have an open, free, and fair primary, and have Joe Biden give his blessing to whoever the winner is and say, we're moving forward as a Democratic Party. I was a transition president. I'm happy to have served my country. I served it for 8 years as vice president, 4 years as president, and now I'm ready to retire. I have cancer, whatever.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
Let me tell you what happened. The person behind the debate was a woman named Anita Dunn, and her husband is Bob Bauer, who's Biden's personal lawyer.
Okay.
She was the one who wanted the early debate. They actually believed that he was going to pull it off.
Come on.
They actually
No
thought
way.
They actually did, and they were hoping. And unfortunately, I mean,
Why do you know that? Because you were cheering for him at that time too.
Yeah, literally. And it is interesting with Biden, because I do believe her when she says that. I think they did think he could, I think they were just betting that they would get lucky and he would be having a good night that night. Because I think when it comes to people in that stage of life, they do have bad nights and good nights, because we saw that with Joe Biden. Unfortunately, he did pull it out, and not, what I'm saying. He put on a pretty decent performance when he was up against Bernie.
Yeah,
Way better than we were hoping. We were like, come on, this is going to be the final nail.
I wanted him to croak on stage that night so badly.
Same, but he actually came out and was like pretty, articulate, and he seemed like he was in control of himself. Same with a couple of the State of the Unions we reacted to. It was like, hey, Biden's talking about all this different shit.
He got his medication right.
Yeah. But then unfortunately the night of that debate was the opposite. It was a real bad night, and it was all on display.
Yeah.
everything went to shit. But let me tell you, things got so bad at Biden events. They confiscated my phone. They put it in a Ziploc bag, outside of the venue, and I wasn't allowed to take any video. I was actually called out specifically. And they were told, I was told I was not allowed to post anything. I posted an Instagram story. I had.
Then why didn't you say anything then?
Yeah.
A staffer from the DNC chair literally tell me, Lindy, take it down. They were censoring my own personal social media because I made them look old. And they were the DNC, Jamie Harrison. I will call that MFer out. He was screening questions. He had us submit questions And he would pre-approve them or not. And he would only pick 2 or 3 questions for Biden to answer. Easy softball questions. And all of us were waiting at the edge of our seat with bated breath, just praying to God that he would be able to finish the sentence.
So you knew about his mental decline
Yeah.
during the election,
And
but you continued raising money for his
No,
campaign.
I didn't. I went on air before the debate, actually, saying that he had declined. And you know what? They called me the night before because they post the Fox News Sunday guests in Politico. They called me and said, Lindy, we know you're the president's most loyal supporter. We know you're going to be loyal.
Wow.
I know. And this is like Tony
What does that
Soprano
even
shit.
mean?
So the first time you spoke out about the Democratic
like a
Party was the
veiled
night before.
It does tell you everything. It does tell you everything about Lindy Lee. It's not how a couple years ago she was considered the most loyal supporter of Joe Biden, and now she's like this hysterical caricature of a right-wing Karen.
And not even a couple years ago. This is 18 months ago.
Yeah.
Like this is like no wait, not 18 months ago. This is 9 months ago, 10 months
Like
ago. This
a
is
year
less
ago.
than
Yeah.
1 year ago. Crazy.
Insane. Again, Anna does her pivot looks downright subtle compared to Lindy Lee. As much shit as we give Anna, Lindy is just embarrassing the extent to which she has no fucking respect for the people listening to her. Like, you really want us to believe this shit.
Oh yeah, it's shameless.
What?
But
I think it makes them look too good to say they were trying to get him out. And as various people have said, some people depended on him being president,
Exactly right.
especially the entire Biden family. Oh, they are SOL now. Every other president retires and gets, $1 million speeches, and everybody wants to read the biography. The Biden family, he's always been the poorest senator, and they're not making any money now. Nobody wants to have him speak. And Anita Dunn and the rest of them, Ron Klain, this was their path to power.
Exactly.
They did.
I actually, again, I have to like swallow some vomit to get these words out for you guys. Never thought I would say this. Never thought I would put myself in a position to say this, but that's actually one of the things that's true that Ann Coulter said in her life. One of the reasons why Joe Biden did not step down, one of the reasons he sought re-election, one of the reasons he ruined his legacy was because of the greed of his family, was because of the people around him not being able to say, hey, Dad, hey, Joe, it's time to retire and enjoy your twilight years and hang out with your grandkids, because then we can't mooch off of you anymore. We can't mooch off of you anymore. And, Republicans like to make a lot of fanfare off of the mooching when they're absolute hypocrites, and they do 10 times more mooching from Donald Trump and self-enriching, 100 times more enriching. But it is true that the inner circle of Joe Biden profited off of his fucking, Senate career, his VP career, and his presidential career, undeniably so. And it led them to perniciously keep him, working when he should have been retired.
Yeah, 100%, which ended up backfiring in a crazy way because his presidency would have been a lot more profitable, I believe, had he done the right thing, stepped down when he should have, handed off the baton to the younger generation like he talked about. I actually do think that would have done something to preserve his legacy in a way that, he just completely threw in the trash by deciding to have to be forced out, right?
Yep.
Not that his legacy would be ever be intact to me. He's a genocidal monster in my book, but to other people, to just normie libs, I think he could have preserved some of that. Like, he's the best American president of modern. Remember, people were saying that he's the most progressive president since FDR and shit. Like, all of that is gone.
He could have retired and really made people's last impression of him something that had been even a decade before his term, and just like gone back to this is Joe eating ice cream with Barack Obama, and this is Joe smiling with his aviators on, and this is him walking his favorite dog. Those kinds of things would have, it's a bummer that this happens, but it's totally true. That would have laundered his reputation. That would have sanitized him to the public, and people would have grown fond of him and really, been sad to get news like they got yesterday or 2 days ago or whenever the fuck it was, but now nobody gives a shit because they're like, fuck you old man, you ruined a country.
Yeah, exactly. And now it's like, if he's still alive in 2028, it's hard to imagine him even being trotted out at the DNC, like for a speech. Usually it would be heresy not to bring out the former president, assuming he's still alive. Obviously Obama will speak, but it's gonna be real fucking awkward if Joe Biden gets trotted out there.
Yeah. They'd sooner bring out the remnants of Jimmy Carter.
Although there is a real chance Biden will just not be alive by 2028 if his cancer is as advanced as they're saying.
No, stage 4, dude. There's a chance Biden won't be alive to see 2026, guys. That's where we're really talking.
Yeah. I mean, I remember Jared Connolly. They just announced like his cancer had gotten worse, seemingly like a couple weeks ago, and now he's dead.
Yeah, stage 4 cancer, like not fucking good, dude. Like you could be dealing with like 8 weeks, 10 weeks. Like, I mean, he's got to get his affairs in order to pass now. And that, yeah. And like nobody sheds a tear for Biden. Fuck him. But if you were his family and you cared about him, it's like, do you really want the guy fucking, spending his last months like fucking starving children and fucking committing murder?
Yeah.
I guess so. If it gets you an extra couple bucks.
Didn't fight like banshees to keep him in. They wouldn't have fought that
Yeah,
hard
really.
if they were trying. But a lot of people thought your theory could be true because wow, did it happen?
It
that
happened
way.
exactly the way they had predicted.
It
And
took
I was
a
like, all
few
right,
weeks.
that's bizarre.
It took a few weeks. They fought like banshees.
Speaking of Anita, I would get emails from Anita Dunn saying, "Thank you for your loyalty." Just one line, and it was like they were running a mafia, I kid you not. And in 2023, I'm going to call somebody else out.
I'm going to give you a button after this.
Everybody knows that because they're witnesses. In 2023, I raised this concern about his conjugal decline to Ken Martin, the current head of the chair. And he looked at me like I was crazy. And I had witnesses when I did this. I had Wendell Pierce from The Wire, the shit guy.
Okay, why didn't you release it to the press, ma'am? I'm for the people, by the people. You kept taking your paycheck. You kept going along to get along. You were still, by the debates, Joe Biden's #1 supporter. So now you're taking credit for shit that happened in 2023 and you didn't blow the whistle? You're so fake. It's obvious. It's obvious you don't believe anything. Do you remember that lady that hounded her the other day? And she was like, how could you just change all of your political beliefs overnight? And she's like, politics is my career. I'm not just going to pick another career. Okay. There was no money for me in the Democrats. I had to go find work somewhere else. I'm like, you literally just confessed to this woman. You don't believe anything at all. Why are we going to take your bobblehead ass serious?
Yeah, and also just because, I mean, it was undeniably a massive scandal, and I get it being so scandalous that it would make you want to leave the Democratic Party after being, there in the inside, seeing all that go down. But that doesn't mean you have to just become a Republican and turn into the #1 culture warrior on behalf of every single right-wing talking point. Like, that's inauthentic. Just because Biden was old and they were covering it up doesn't mean that you now have the excuse to do a total ideological 180 on things that had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Remember? Shit, that's him.
Got it.
And then I had my brother and a room full of people saying, David Ignatius had dropped an article in the Washington Post on September 12, 2023, the retreat that we did in Chicago with Kamala Harris is September 13th. And I said to Ken Martin, are you not concerned about Biden's cognitive decline? He's like, oh, no, don't be
You want to
ridiculous.
fast forward a bit so
He
that
made me feel like I
past
was
the
crazy.
cognitive decline shit.
He is Trump's Middle East envoy.
Yeah, I was trying to get to the part where Anna and Lindy are having their back and forth.
Yeah. Because I feel like the Biden stuff, I mean, everyone agrees. Biden was too old. They covered it up. It was a huge scandal. There's not all that much crazy shit there. But I don't even care where we jump to. Let's just...
Yeah, I just don't want to miss that part that was in the beginning.
And he kind of very simple task. Reach a
Is 180 in a nefarious back to me pop out
the Iran nuclear deal that Obama and other countries, by the way, 4 other countries had negotiated with Iran. There were checks to ensure that Iran was not enriching uranium. They would go.
Yeah, we caught Anna spitting. This is true.
Yeah.
do it.
I mean,
And then like they were allowed to get to like 90%.
But there are inspectors, and I'm glad
Exactly.
you just played what Trump said over there. This is one of the most important things of his presidency. It's a
Agreed.
huge change. The Trump doctrine. This is what the American people voted for. I have a chapter on him taking this position in Trump We Trust. It was one of the reasons I supported him in 2016. But then, first term, he appointed Jared Kushner president, and turns out we had to keep going around bombing everyone, like you mentioned Soleimani, which was a terrible, horrible idea. Let's just put that behind us.
Thank
This
you.
is the new Trump. And this is the uniparty.
This is the new Trump, different than the old Trump. Oh yeah, that I don't even know him. That's the old him.
Against the American people. We have zero interest in going to war with Iraq. A lot of Americans will die.
yes.
A lot. We should not have military bases around the world. We have enough trouble in our country. The anti-war left and the MAGA right should come together because this is
Yes.
and he said it in that speech. A lot of people want to go to war. Oh my gosh. And that's probably why he keeps saying these stupid things about, I'm going to...
Trump just proposed a $1 trillion military budget and said he agreed with everything Benjamin Netanyahu was doing, by the way. So I actually don't think I want to embrace MAGA's position on war. What about you, Gavin?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Although I will say, in that perverse credit that I was talking about earlier, I do think that Ann Coulter actually does believe what she's saying, unlike a Marjorie Taylor Greene or some of these other clowns.
Or anybody that's actually a Republican in Congress, though.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, I actually do think she believes that. That doesn't mean I want to unite with her and fucking join forces necessarily. But it's interesting to hear.
Yeah.
Stand up to Iraq.
She definitely has a lot of Steve Bannon kind of politics, I feel like.
Yep.
or Iran, because there is going to be enormous pressure on him to go to war, go to war, go to war. We have no interest in going to war.
That's my question.
Who's putting pressure on him? Oh, the people he appointed and put in his fucking cabinet, lady. The guys that he said, oh, I want you to be my advisors 5 fucking months ago.
Question is the leverage of getting Iran to comply is if you don't comply, then I'll bomb you out.
You know what's happened? If I could respond to that in particular, I used to wonder, why does Iran need nuclear power? Aren't they sitting on something else they could use for fuel? Well, yes, they can, but they export fuel. It's how they make money. So if they can get some of their energy from nuclear, there actually is a reason for them to have nuclear energy. Point one. Point two, every time Bush would walk away and say, no, not until you have completely dropped all of your enrichment, they would just keep enriching. And now they're on the verge of getting a nuclear bomb. If you had just negotiated with them and said, okay, you may enrich for nuclear power, but we're sending in inspectors.
Wow, crazy, because I'm going to blow Ann's mind. Do you know who did that? This crazy piece of foreign policy where we negotiated with our diplomats and Iran's diplomats, and we got that ironed out, and it was amazing. It was a huge feat. It was an internationally celebrated accomplishment. It was done by a guy named Barack Obama. And then this asshole got elected named Donald Trump, and he wiped his ass with it, and he set it on fire. And now, 8 years
Trump's
later.
fault. That was Jared Kushner. Didn't you hear her, bro? It was the Jews that did that.
Oh, that's exactly what she's saying. That's exactly what she's saying, by the way. I didn't even catch that the first time. I was like, yeah, fuck Jared Kushner, but you're right. That's what she means.
Obama wouldn't do it. Or sorry, Obama did do it. Bush wouldn't do it.
Obama did do it. Thank you, you dumb fucking.
Obama did it. My party went nuts. It's a better idea. Look, Pakistan has a nuclear bomb. We can't trust them. North Korea has a nuclear bomb. We can't trust them. It may be that at some point Iran gets a nuclear bomb. They're closer to it because we didn't send in inspectors. Yeah. This is huge what Trump is doing.
I agree.
Is absolutely huge.
Totally
and it's interesting how it didn't get that much press. It should have been a 2-inch headline at the top of the.
That's because he was the one that fucked it up. That's because nobody believes him, because he was the one that did this in the first place. He created this problem. Why are you expecting him to fix it? Why is Anna nodding along like Ann Coulter's waxing?
The New York Times.
I agree with you that it's the most important story in the news today.
Okay.
I think that Donald Trump has really changed the Republican Party. I mean, I remember the Bush years. The Republican Party was the pro-war party. And to be sure, those types of figures still do exist within the Republican Party. But to answer your question about Netanyahu and him being alienated from these negotiations, let me make clear.
I know you don't like him.
No, I despise him.
I
But
get that you
putting that
despise
aside,
him, but
I can put my bias aside and just give you the facts, right?
Okay.
Netanyahu is the one who convinced Donald Trump in his first term to basically get rid of the Iran nuclear deal, because Netanyahu doesn't want a deal. He wants the United States to go to war with Iran on behalf of Israel, just as we did with Iraq back in 2003. In the lead up to the war with Iran, in the lead up to the war with Iraq, you had the Israeli intelligence organization coming out and saying, oh, not only do they have weapons of mass destruction, Iraq is also developing bioweapons, and oh, it's so dangerous. So they had been pushing the United States to go to war with Iraq. We did go to war with Iraq. It was a complete and utter disaster. And if you go back and you read all the details about everything that happened before that preemptive invasion, okay, you'll see very similar trends. You'll see parallels. We should not go to war with Iran.
Okay, what's really interesting about this, and I'm not exactly sure where Anna's going, but a little history lesson. One of the reasons that we actually got into our conflict with Iraq was because for so long we'd been using Iraq as a proxy to engage in a battle with Iran, right? That's how we got hooked up with Saddam Hussein. I went and did a deep dive on this a few months ago, but in 1965, Saddam Hussein hooked up with the CIA in Cairo, Egypt, and they were able to help manipulate him so that eventually he could become the ruler of Iraq. We were giving him a bunch of weapons. We were giving him a bunch of munitions. We were giving him a bunch of shit under the table so that he would engage in a proxy war between Iraq and Iran. Now, where we got into trouble with Saddam and where he got into trouble with us was when he tried to bully Kuwait the same way that he was engaging in a proxy war with Iran. And we were like, no, can't do that. We had to go and depose him over a long, brutal process later. But it is interesting. Just that little bit of a historical tidbit, it is connected to our long-standing desire to go to war with Iran, because that's always been an obsession of a certain like neo-conservative wing of the Republican Party.
Yeah, and 100% of Israel too. Obviously,
right.
It's not incorrect to identify that. But I do think it's ridiculous how they keep acting like, oh, you can't blame Trump. Netanyahu convinced him, or Jared Kushner decided. Like, now Trump also wanted to do that. He completely went along with it, potentially because Israel has fucking blackmail on him. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Why do you
Also,
think fucking Jeffrey Epstein? Why do you think he got fucking murked in jail under Trump's first administration?
if you have a specific criticism, I'd be happy to hear it, but I'm pretty sure that history was pretty on point.
Yeah, let us know, Jonathan, how incorrect Zach was. Let's hear about all the fake news that just got spread on this podcast.
Okay. We never worked with it, Saddam. That's a liberal lie.
We should approach this diplomatically. I don't want soldiers to go to Iran. I don't want people to die. I want a deal, and I want us to use our resources on the American people.
I agree with you. I'm simply saying we didn't go to war with Iran the first time. And it was like, I bankrupted them. They were nowhere. Like, why not continued strangulation and sanctions?
Why
I
not?
just- I don't trust
Strangulation and sanctions. Let's not get our hands dirty. Let's just do some strangulation and sanctions. This woman is a psychopath.
Who the fuck just casually advocates for the strangulation and sanctioning of a foreign country that, like, what the fuck is Iran even doing to us? Like, for Jillian Michaels' perspective. I mean, I know that all the neocon excuses about like they're the number one, sponsor of terrorism, but like, I don't know. That just seems like a random thing for Jillian to get on board with. What the fuck?
And they were nowhere. Like, why not continued strangulation and sanctions? I don't trust Iran. I mean, the Sharia law, like, you're dealing with a
woman in the
government.
Pentagon.
Yeah.
Deal with Saudi Arabia and their monsters, and just I think I should probably defend the war in Iraq, since I was a huge supporter. So I just quickly want to say, after 9/11, I wanted to bomb the crap out of Iraq and Afghanistan. I still would, but I didn't want to stay 20 years. Nobody said we're going to stay 20 years.
Iraq had nothing to do
That's what I was gonna
with
say.
9/11. I can understand.
The idea was, and some of it worked, some of it didn't,
Mhm.
was that we wanted an Arab Israel. A lot of these, we tried to relitigate it.
She just comes out and she's like, we wanted to do nation building in Iraq. They didn't do 9/11, but we really wanted to nation build. That's what she's saying.
But also, I can't believe it took 20 years. Like, what the fuck? How would that not take 20 years if that was really the goal? You think that's an overnight process?
And
to
also-
build an Arab Israel?
And I hate Israel.
Yeah. Right. This is crazy. I mean, she's like, oh, I supported the bombing of Iraq, but not staying there for a long time. But also, I wanted to turn it into an Arab Israel, which definitely would have taken more than a couple of years or whatever.
Well,
So which is it?
Halliburton thought they could really streamline it with a couple of McDonald's and that American processed tasty cuisine.
This is crazy.
Oh yeah, it's insane.
Most of the Middle East either have sane people with a crazy leader or crazy people with a sane leader. What Iraq was actually pretty sane people. We have
Just mask off racism.
a lot of Iraqis who have immigrated to America. They're not like, Afghans.
What? Oh, the Iraqis that immigrated here, they're not like Afghans. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, lady?
But if you got rid of their leader, and they did wave their purple fingers, I do think Iraq is better. Was it worth the price we paid? I don't know. Maybe not. I wanted to smash someplace in the Middle East. Absolutely, Afghanistan. You were never going to nation build there. Just bomb the crap out of them. And
That's what I was saying about how she went further than any of the conservatives. Like, this is her whole brand, just being like, we should eradicate the whole Middle East and put American flags in the rubble. Like, that was her whole fucking line. She wrote whole books that were based on that premise.
Yeah, it's just crazy to hear it in 2025. She's still on the 2002 drum beating. I'll kill any fucking brown person in the Middle East I lay my motherfucking eyes on.
Yep. But also somehow she's arguing against war with Iran.
Like, these
Like,
are our.
She in the next breath, after being like, the Iran deal should be re-entered and we should not send American troops to die, but also let me do some weird like retrospective defense of the Iraq war.
And
Something
the
that even
Afghan-
Tucker Carlson is against now.
It's absolutely deranged. This woman is a psychopath.
And the
Imagine just having. Sorry, I'm just imagine having to sit next to her and be like, "Well, you're not just here to debate her. You can't just scream at her the whole time. Like, this is your co-host."
Yeah. Let's see if Anna does
was
get in the muck.
supported by the United States government. I mean, we were funding them. We were giving them weapons to prevent communism from developing, right? A communist takeover from developing in Afghanistan. That came back to bite us in the ass. And
Trump
so,
was so right saying
Mhm.
their nation building has created disaster.
exactly.
It has never gone the way it was supposed to. Well,
Agreed.
I'm particularly scared.
So Anna just gasses up the racist fucking tantrum that Ann Coulter has. Exactly right. Trump was exactly right.
And also, it's like, yeah, Ann Coulter, you can say that it didn't go the way it was supposed to, but it's like, it sounds like that's everything that you support. First this, now Trump, now, like, you know what I'm saying? Everything that you were a cheerleader for, now you get to turn around and be like, oops, didn't turn out so well. Yeah, maybe you shouldn't have fucking supported it.
Oh yeah. Also, Jonathan, this is the clarification that was wrong. We hooked up with Saddam Hussein in 1965 and started building him up as an ally in 1965, but you're correct. It wasn't until later that we used him as a proxy to battle Iran. So glad we clarified that. We'll talk more about that later.
skeptical about the Qatar piece. And then, of course, you've got the plane, which you guys wanted to
Exactly.
talk about. So next up, let's take a look here at the plane situation.
Is this the one that got
told you
sucked into
wanted
the
to address
wormhole?
the
Oh, no.
gift that Qatar is giving to the U.S. government, to the Defense Department of this jet.
I see that this story is making a big story in the news. Look, we've been always there for the U.S. We've been a reliable ally for the U.S. And it's something between the Ministry of Defense in Qatar and the Department of Defense, and it's in the discussion between them and under legal review. Unfortunately, I see that this story is taking a different direction and is being more politicized, while it's a normal government-to-government deal.
All right. So basically, he's saying there's no there. But I read a brilliant piece in the Free Press, Barry Weiss's Free Press. Okay. So listen to this. They pull back the curtain on how far Qatar has gone to entrench itself into American life. So over the past 2 decades, Qatar has
Also, that's
spent
pretty
nearly
funny. No
$100
wonder she
billion buying into
just admits that she reads Barry Weiss's The Free Press. Now we know why she's advocating for this starvation and strangulation of Iran. You know what I'm saying? The Free Press is literally just like neocon newsletter.
influence across our politics, universities, media, think tanks, and Fortune 500 boardrooms. And in 2017 alone, you'll get a kick out of this. They spent 225 million lobbying and on PR in the US. That's 3 times more than Israel and 2/3 more than China. So my question is, like, how deep is this flowing, and when is American policy no longer made in America?
So deep. So
A
deep.
long
And you know
time
what?
ago.
They are buying our minds. They're buying the future of the American people, the future generation. Because you know what? They're also buying the Ivy League. And I went to Princeton, and you could see that a lot the influence in the Middle East was everywhere. They purchased happy hours for us, social events. All of it was just bankrolled by the Middle East.
Sorry, did you want to finish your point? Sorry.
And not only that, this is like, I want to be intellectually honest here. I am a conservative now, but this is not a good idea to use to allow.
I am a conservative now. Please like me. I'm a conservative now. I changed all my beliefs and did a 180 as a grown woman after spending my whole life defending the other side. And I did not give a compelling reason as to what made me have such a catastrophic pivot.
Yeah. And also, like, it is true. Like, I'm not for any of this disgusting, obvious attempts to, corrupt America, whether it's Israel, whether it's Qatar, whether it's, Saudi Arabia with their bizarre attempts to, like, buy off American athletes and film directors and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not in favor of any of that shit. But it's pretty funny to act like they're, all just finding out about it or something.
Yeah.
Air Force One to be created by or to be gifted to us by another country. We would literally have to take the plane apart to ensure that there are no listening devices. They could be anywhere.
But they do plan on doing that. But do you feel as if that is an indictment on Trump, though? Because to your point, he's there. He's going through all of these diplomatic talks across both sides of the aisle. We're recognizing this is a good thing. Would it really be a good standard for him to begin those talks by rejecting a massive gift from them?
Yeah, shouldn't we just allow fucking Qatar to bribe our president? We know he loves big gifts. He's flying all around. He's doing all of this wonderful negotiating. Gavin, doesn't he just deserve his own private plane?
Yeah, 100%. Also, we can watch as much of this as you want, but I did just get a message from Hank that the Anna versus Lindy, your line is at 1 hour 12 minutes in.
Oh,
so
perfect.
We can
shout out to Hank.
Yeah, maybe we should start at like 1:10 just so we get the context for this.
Sure.
But yeah, sorry to snuff this out so early, but I'm already getting sick of these ladies' voices.
Laptop was fake. I thought that, I thought it was NBC News, this prominent news organization. They must be telling us the truth, but no, they lied to us. And not only did they lie to us, they marched out dozens of members from the distinct American intellectual community, intelligence community, including Jake Sullivan and Anthony Blinken, who said that that laptop was Russian disinformation. That was all a lie. That laptop was real as fuck.
I just wish they let the laptop story play out.
I say real as fuck.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Earlier she said MFer, but now she's an hour into the episode. She's like, I'm letting the real thing fly.
You know what? Also, Anna's face really sums up how I feel about all of this. I gotta be real. That's
real as fuck.
The laptop was real as fuck.
Story play out.
I know.
It's like, who cares? Who cares?
I know, it's the sun.
Yeah, who cares? Okay, so if he does drugs and he has sex with hookers, like, who cares? Like the guy that tried to suppress it made it way more nefarious.
Because the argument is
I care about the man. Now I'm gonna be to the right of Anna. The Hunter Biden laptop story is a serious concern, but for real, I actually recommend one thing I have that I treasure is the entire Hunter Biden laptop printed out in printed out form. It's like a coffee table book of degeneracy. I'm not kidding. You can buy it for about $50 online. I did it about 6 months ago.
Gavin just wanted to pick a bunch of pictures of his wiener.
No, well, all of those are blurred. All the like nudity is like blurred out. But I'm serious, guys. You will spend hours going down that rabbit hole, reading this book, finding the most fascinating, degenerate, criminal shit ever. It is literally like a fucking coffee table book of degeneracy, and it just keeps going on. And yeah, it was all sanctioned under him being like theoretically, the president's son, Burisma, all this crap. Like, it is pretty crazy. It is pretty crazy. I do think it's a scandal, specifically because Hunter Biden was involved in so much criminality that Joe Biden fucking criminalized with the crime bill, drug use, all this stuff that people are still in jail for. Meanwhile, his son's out here prancing around throughout the world doing drugs, fucking hookers and doing all this shit.
Yeah, no, that is the scandal for sure. I think a lot of people just roll their eyes at it because you could also point to a million scandals of Donald Trump and his children, but that doesn't mean that the Hunter Biden laptop story wasn't a scandal. And what was really a fucking scandal to me was the way that they tried to fucking, censor it from going viral, right? Like, I mean, the effort to like squash, all of his, like whatever the shit from going viral, like they. I can't remember which news outlet it was.
Oh, I think it was the New York Post.
The New York Post, yeah, they like redacted it. That kind of shit I thought was annoying, and I thought that it gave the conservatives a lot of fucking oxygen for their arguments that they didn't deserve.
Yeah, but I would never say that. Oh, had that article not been censored on Twitter, the Republicans would have won and Biden would have lost. Like, that's stupid.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He's a foreign agent who didn't register because he was working in Ukraine, and
it's bigger than that because it would have laid out that Joe Biden was an influence peddler in the most extraordinary degree, and that he was a big guy, and that he was the one.
Maybe the worst thing from exactly. So the worst thing about the laptop is the hardest to prove. What you're saying, how much was the big guy getting? It's the hardest to prove.
Not only that,
the easy part to prove nobody cares about.
Right.
If Ann Coulter is telling you, yeah, you're barking up the wrong tree with this fucking, you know what? There's nothing there. That's not a good way to attack Joe Biden because one, as Jillian Michaels already said, Kushner got millions from the Saudis. Donald Trump, they just argued, should be able to take a jet from Qatar, right? And he's like, oh yeah, nobody cares about like if the kid was fucking hookers. We want to know if the big guy was getting checks, and you can't prove that. There's nothing that proves it.
Yep. And unfortunately, that is kind of true. I mean, that is kind of true. It's hard to directly prove it, although it seems so obvious. It seems so fucking obvious. In the same way that, Jared Kushner's corruption is obvious and all that.
Yeah.
Right. And not only that, though, Joe Biden marched out his drug addict of a son and essentially had him acting as a bad man around the country.
Oh, if we want to talk about drug addict sons, you got to look at Don Jr.
Also, I don't care about the fact that Hunter Biden was a drug addict. That's not the problem. You know what I'm saying? That's so stupid. Like, some of the greatest fucking people in history were drug addict. Charlie Parker was a fucking drug addict.
Yeah. But yeah, and to Gavin's point earlier, it was the fact that his father passed the punitive, life-destroying crime bill with pride and said that he didn't even think that marijuana should be legalized and put people behind bars and in concrete cages for the rest of their lives, and then wanted leniency for his son because, it's a illness when his son is suffering, but it's a fucking, ruthless crime when it's some other person suffering.
Taking Hunter Biden with him on trips to China, for goodness sakes, around the world, doing business deals. Why would you?
Why were you raising money for Biden then?
Because I understand you.
No. I know you get real angry when people ask you that question, but you need to answer it because you need to turn on the Bidens and the Democratic Party until after the election. Don't yell at me.
No.
Keep it down.
No.
Keep it down.
I just apologized at the very top of the segment. Did I not? I said I bought into Hunter.
I think Anna would thrive if she got a little more alpha, a little more regularly. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, don't shout at me. Don't you fucking shout at me. You want to get in a shouting match? I'll fucking shout at you. Like, I like that mom energy from Anna. Not to be sexist, just alpha energy, I guess. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, this is getting intense.
Apology. I want to understand your thinking.
You just asked me to repeat myself.
Were happening.
Anna,
why did you wait until after the election?
Though. Let me. Do you understand English? I just said I do.
You're lying, though.
No, I'm not. Did I not tell you that I went on Fox News Sunday before the debate exposing his cognitive decline?
Okay, but did you bring up like your issues with the Hunter Biden laptop story? The fact that they were trying to control you behind the scenes?
She thought it was real.
I just told you 5 minutes ago.
Okay.
I thought it was real.
So you're dumb as fuck, and now we're supposed to listen to you. You're the most gullible, dumb motherfucker alive, and now I'm supposed to care about your analysis. Now I'm supposed to care about your punditry. Your excuse is that I'm so stupid, I can't think for myself. I'm brain dead. I let myself be spoon-fed shit from the establishment because it was 2024, and I was a grown-ass woman, and I realized that sometimes the media has an agenda for the first time, and it made me do a backflip on everything I fucking believed. I'm sorry. Then you're not worth listening to. Then you're not worth hearing your perspective because you clearly don't have a defined POV and you clearly don't believe in anything authentically.
When they lied to me about the millions that I raised, I thought, okay, if they're lying about this, what else are they lying about? And it took me months to realize they basically lied about everything.
It is funny how that works. You know, the first lie for me was the COVID lie. Was the lab.
that was huge.
I was like,
The lab
wait a minute. You know, and
I think the shutdowns, I don't even know if it came from the lab, but the entire COVID thing was a lie.
I remember
Also, did you hear China now coming out and alleging that COVID came from America and that it didn't start in Wuhan? So, like, who the fuck even really knows about that? Not that they didn't lie, but
Yeah, my other favorite thing is these people constantly piss and moan about the lockdowns. Gavin, who was president during the lockdowns?
Donald Trump.
Fucking
listening to, I've mentioned this before, so forgive me if you've heard it, but I remember listening to Brett Weinstein break this down in March of 2020 on Rogan. He's an
You
evolution.
get so much from her media diet when she reveals that. First, she said that she used ChatGPT to write her opening monologue on the first episode. Now she's revealed she's into Barry Weiss and Brett Weinstein.
Evolutionary biologist. So he was looking at different elements of like, where's the incubation population for this virus? Like normally for a pandemic, the pathogen will incubate within a population, learn its host, and become more dangerous. Whereas the host animal.
Back to the fight. Is the fight over?
Let me see.
Thanks, Jillian, for fucking changing the topic.
We need everyone masked was a lie. They destroyed the American economy. That was a lie. I mean, in
what
the
about the
end,
schools?
who cares whether it was the wet
Kids are
kit
still
or the
suffering from
lab
that.
came from China?
I think we all experienced so much collective trauma during COVID.
Yeah.
And I think that was a part of the agenda because when the resolve of an entire country is weakened, then that's when they can come in and they can impose their agenda much easier as well. The whole COVID thing, so evil, so nefarious. And I
Judicial
So
review.
evil.
Let alone
See it in your eyes.
So look, whatever you think about the use of the Alien Enemies Act to deport people who are here illegally, put that aside for a second. First of all, I don't agree with its uses. We can adjudicate that in a bit. But
Okay.
my bigger issue at the moment is that in that answer we just heard from Miller, it seems pretty clear that they do not intend to follow through with a federal judge's order. Now, to give you a sense of how I am not hypocritical on this issue, when Biden was still president and a federal judge, weighed in on the abortion pill and Democrats didn't like the decision, AOC went on cable news and essentially said the Biden administration should just ignore the court order. No, you shouldn't ignore it. No, hell no. I'm in favor of keeping the abortion pill legal, obviously. But at the same time, you open a disastrous can of worms, a constitutional crisis, when you have people in power just ignoring the federal courts,
I guess she has to
throwing our
like fucking shit on the Democrats in the process of criticizing the Republicans every fucking time. She's like, oh, this is fascist and terrible. But also what AOC said about preserving women's rights to get an abortion was also just as fascist, even though it wasn't. And AOC was making a great fucking point and urging Biden to do something that he absolutely should have done. People talked about a lot of responses Biden could have had to the fall of Roe v. Wade that actually would have been really ingenious, right? People talked about they could have opened abortion clinics on federal land, like military bases and stuff, and allowed women to seek treatment that way because it wouldn't fall under the purview of the fucking fascist, Republican states. There were lots of things Biden could have done if he actually gave a fuck about that issue. And AOC was 100% right to entertain those suggestions. That's not the same thing as what Donald Trump is doing.
Yup. Do you want to keep watching this? It looks pretty fucking boring on the way out.
Pretty boring. And despite my criticism of Anna there, I will say for the most part, it seems like in this episode, she had the most sensible contributions to make out of all her take we've consumed so far. So just, keeping it real, I do think that she at least seems to be a little bit more brave in this episode. It's like she's actually willing to stand up for what she believes in, maybe.
But what's crazy is that when she actually got gassed up, she was either A, agreeing with Ann Coulter and allowing Ann Coulter to completely misrepresent the way that the Iran nuclear deal was pulled out of and like give Donald Trump weird credit for it and be like, yes, this is a great thing, and not acknowledge deeply the fact that it was his entire fuck up in the first place and how he has this big thing where he'll create a problem and then act like he's going to solve it. And the example I like to use all the time that people paraded out was, I constantly heard from people who are like left wingers, but they only like praise Donald Trump all the time, that Donald Trump was seriously trying to get Julian Assange out of prison. Don't worry. Like, he's going to pardon Julian Assange. He's going to pardon Edward Snowden, right? It was Donald Trump that put fucking Julian Assange in Belmarsh prison. It was Mike Pompeo and Donald Trump's State Department. Okay. How often do you hear those people who were trying constantly to give Donald Trump some perverted credit for fucking freeing Julian Assange when he was responsible for the guy being in Belmarsh fucking prison, one of the most disgusting, horrible places on planet Earth? Okay. Did you hear them say any credit to Joe Biden when it was Joe Biden's administration when Julian Assange got freed? Okay. After fucking, all of the turmoil. No, they never said a damn thing about it, right? Because what Donald Trump constantly does is he'll create a problem and then pretend he's going to fix it. So the dumbasses that are gullible as fucking his base who will believe anything he said, oh, no, don't worry, he's going to fix that. He said he's going to fix that. He just said he was going to fix that. It's like, yeah, that's the problem he created, moron. Okay. And the other thing that she did was she called out Lindy Lee for not being an authentic MAGA. Okay. So those were her two big courageous moments, which are 100% acceptable under PBD. She didn't make any Republican or any conservative viewer feel ashamed, and that's her whole job there. So I agree she had good moments in terms of like,
I'm not saying she had good moments even. I just said in contrast to the previous two episodes, this is her best. I'm not praising it. I'm just saying in comparison to those, it looks impressive.
That's probably true. I just think that what was impressive about it was like resulting in her actually uplifting the right-wing POV.
Yeah, I just like seeing her call out Lindy Lee. I liked it when what was it, Tara Palmieri or whatever the fuck did it too. I do like seeing Lindy Lee confronted, but that was about the only thing. I'm not trying to give Anna too much credit.
No.
I'm just saying compared to the absolute embarrassment that was the last episode, at least she kind of pushed back a little bit. At least she sort of played the role of the left flank on the panel. Weirdly, sometimes with Ann Coulter as her like backup. Very bizarre to see Ann Coulter making more sense at certain points in this than like Jillian Michaels, but
I think that's totally by design, though. That's why Anna's there. She's allowed to make Ann Coulter, this hardcore right winger, seem sensible and reasonable because she's going to agree with her on fringe issues. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I don't want war with Iran, but we're not going to talk about how Donald Trump has massively escalated towards that, how he appointed John Bolton in his first term, how everybody that's in his cabinet right now pushing for war. Like, they'll talk about there are still some people pushing for war. Those were all people that were just very recently appointed by Donald Trump. So she's just there as a way of making Ann Coulter seem more reasonable than she is. Which I think is pernicious in its own way. A lot of people in chat making the obvious.
Oh, it's all pernicious. I'm not denying that. It's all. Why do you think we're reacting to this? It's a stew of perniciousness.
Yeah,
and Karen energy for sure. But again, I'm just saying it does. I'm just analyzing Anna's performance. We talked about how in the previous couple episodes it seemed like she was almost cowering to these other panelists. It does seem like she's kind of getting her bearings, and she's willing to at least like play the role that she was brought on board to play.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I totally agree with that. And that's kind of what I was trying to get across when I was talking about the Summer League thing, how she realized that she was not making the cut and how she's going to have to get her voice out there. I just think the way that she chose to get her voice out there makes her look pretty bad.
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there. Be there. The Vanguard will be there. Be there. Be there.